Good evening, Enny.
Evening.
Mr. Enny, sorry, I don't know if I can actually just ask a little question before the class begins about the assignment I was given. I've actually done mine. So I end up with three API routes, like three API links. I don't know, and that is one for the artist. That is, I can add delete artist at free will. Then which is linked to a song that is with my foreign key, and I can actually add songs, delete songs, which from a particular artist. Then on the other hand, I can also add and delete lyrics. I can add multiple lyrics to a particular song, which is sung by an artist. And I can actually delete the lyrics on its own without deleting the song, then delete the song, which will delete if the lyrics attached to it. Then finally, if I delete the artist, it deletes everything that is linked to it. I don't know if I'm on track.
So based on what I understand, like you did, yeah, it seems like you're on track, but since there is no way to visualize it, I don't think I can say for a certainty. But if you are saying that if you delete a song, we are also deleting the lyrics. Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it's time to start because today's class is just 1 hour. And we won't have as much time as we used to have in other office hours. Okay, so hello everyone, welcome to today's office hours. I hope we all had a great day. I hope it wasn't very stressful your day. So as usual, we'll be talking about Python and Django. And this week we are covering views, but today we'll be looking into the Django REST framework. And that is solely because of the deadline to the task. So lots of people are complaining that they do not understand the video on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to be talking about DROF now. So I'll be sharing my screen. I hope everyone can hear me, please.
Yes, we can.
And I hope everyone can also see my screen. Give me a second. I'm going to stop share and okay. So I hope everyone can see my screen. So this is the project we've been working on for quite some time now. We have two applications, post and to reply, templates, who that here houses all our templates. So okay, I think this is not even supposed to be here any longer, so I'll just delete this. Oh, okay, I think that's this supposed to be, yeah, it's supposed to be, sorry. I forgot I have set it into the directory. So to start with, we'll be installing or downloading the Django REST framework library. So I think we did that yesterday before the class ended. So I will just be adding it to my installed apps array. So I will confirm. Wow, that is trying to. So I would add the REST framework because I'm very sure that we installed it yesterday. So add it here, REST framework. So we will be creating a new application called API. So the application here would, the API application will house all our API routes and views for our API. So we have Django REST framework already installed. So well, as usual, use this to run my server. Then there should be an API application here. So the very idea of what we want to do is, since we already have some fireflies in the database already, I want to be able to create an API that lists those fireflies. I'll also be creating an API to delete, update, and retrieve a single firefly. So the app is created already. So let's just add it here. So there are some things we won't need in this app. So I'll just delete them. For now, we don't really need these models of PY5 because we'll be using the models of PY5 or we'll be using the models of the Surifly application. We also don't need the admin here. What else? Okay, so I think it's fine like this. So as usual, we will create URLs of py file. I'll import then URL patterns. I'll come to my root URL here, and then I'll add the URL routes and the API routes rather. So include API.URLs. Okay. So let's run our server again. Oh. Okay. So if we go to /API/, we should see okay. We are not having any page for now, but we are sure that it works because we are not seeing this /API here. So we are sure it works for now. So in order for us to build APIs, because now we are getting into the API properly. In order for us to build APIs, we need what we call a serializers.py file. Now, the serializer allows us to serialize our data, our query set objects. So serialization is just converting a given set of data into a format that can be easily readable by the computer, can be transmitted over two machines or something like that. So we would need to create a serializers.py file. Now, in this serializer, because if you check the Django REST framework documentation, they have like an extensive explanation of serializers. So if you go through, you can see that we are importing from the serializer class, and then where is the class? Well, I would import one. I find it. But you'd see that we have so many types of serializer. We have the model serializer, have the hyperlink model serializer, and so on. We even have the base serializer class. But we would be using the model serializer here because we are not going to be creating our serializer field itself. So we are just going to be using the ones from the model. So if you remember what we did with the forms yesterday, we used the model form, which allows us to create form fields from our model directly. So we are going to be doing something similar here with the serializers.py file. We are going to be using the model serializer that allows us to create serializer fields for our API. So we don't have to manually create them. So from Django, no, sorry, from REST framework, import serializer.
Hi, Enny, please, I left a question in chat.
Yeah, I would go over our questions later, so and because we really need to finish this, so I'll go over our questions later. From REST framework, import serializers and experimental, yes. So from dot model, sorry, from Zurich the models, import Firefly. So what we are doing is we are using the Firefly model here because we want to display all our data regarding this Firefly. So that's what we are using. So class Firefly serializer the model serializer. So I don't like after completing this. I want to write it out so everyone knows what I am doing. Model. So we are going to specify a class meta, and then we would specify the model, which is equal to Firefly. So please, if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat, and I will go over them when this is comfortable to do so. So for here, regarding this fields, we can specify all the attributes of the field, but we don't really need all the attributes for now. So I will just specify name, color, and I think size. So it should be an array. Okay, let's use ID, name, color. Let's use just the statements for now. So we are done with this serializer. We are actually done. No, like I said, this model serializer just allows us to use just allows us to create a serializer from our models directly. But it is not all the time that you would have to use a model serializer. In fact, most times you would need to, or you would want to create your own serializer yourself. So you can go through the serializer documentation here and understand how best to work with serializers. So for now, we are just going to use a simplified form of the serializer here. So now we'll be working with our views. So yesterday, I talked a little bit about views. I talked about how views are callable and it accepts a request and it returns a response. And in Django, we use our views to communicate with our database and we use them to render things on the web page, or we use them to return a response. So most of what we'll be doing regarding APIs, we will not be rendering a web page, but rather we'll be returning responses. So the first thing we need to do is we need to import our model. So I would import the model to reply them there. I don't want to type that out. Then here, class. Now we have, so like I also said yesterday, we have two types of views. We have the function-based views and the class-based views in Django. So because I have mostly talked about function-based view, I don't think I've talked on class-based views yet. It might be hard understanding class-based views if you are new to it. If you have not seen anything regarding class-based view, it might be hard to comprehend. So what I'll do is I would create the API using a function-based view, then I will use a class-based view. So we want to have firefly underscore list underscore API, something like this. Then section a request. So what we want to do is we want to list out all our fireflies in the database. So if request or method equals get so we are going to be using some imports, but we are going to be doing some imports, but I've not done them yet. So as to follow through or understand what I am doing. So I want to get all my fireflies equals firefly dot objects. That's all. Yeah. So another thing I want to import is the serializer. So from dot serializer import firefly serializer. So here I would do serializer equal firefly serializer. Then I will pass in the query sets. The query set that is returned from this. So obviously, this is the query set. I believe everyone understands this. So we'll pass in the query set for our serializer to serialize. So it's turn it into a format that can be sent to the API. I'll be returned as a response rather. So guys. Then we can leave this like this. We can leave it like this, but only when we are returning a single object from the database. We would have an error if we leave it like this because we are returning a query set, which is a sequence, a list of data. So we have to set a flag that says many equals true. So we are returning more than one item. So at this point, before I return anything, I want to print the serializer. So I'll come to the URL.py file here, and I would set the path to be. So I believe that the API route is /API. So I want to make this /API / fireflies / So I have to import from the views. Okay. So if we go to this API route, we would get an error, but we should get something printed on our console. So if I come to start API / firefly, like I said, we get an error, but we should get something in our console. So if you look at this space, you see we have a query set that returns all our fireflies because we are printing it out. So in Django, you can't create a view, or you can't have a view without returning anything, any response, any HTTP response at all, either a HTTP response or a JSON response or anything. You can't have a view without returning anything. So that's why we are having that error. So what we'll do is we would return Now, the reason why I want to return a JSON response, so let me import the JSON response from Django.http, import JSON response. So JSON response, like your HTTP response, they do not render a page or return a page. A JSON response returns a data, but in a JSON format. So for those of you who don't know, JSON format is like a dictionary. It's literally a dictionary. A JSON rather is a dictionary, but like what we term a dictionary in Python. So it is the data type, like it's a data type like the dictionary, but it's not actually a data type because it is not used to store a data like in a Python way or something. It is just a file format. So you can see we have JSON files. You most likely will see that we have JSON files. Those JSON files hold JSON data, and JSON data is like normal dictionary in Python. So that is what this JSON response returns. So it expects a dictionary. So I will take this out and print serializer.data. We'll still get the same error, but I want to show you what we are getting in our terminal. We are getting a different, so we are getting an ordered dictionary. So now, an ordered dict is not actually a dictionary. It's not a standard dictionary like this. It's not something like this. So what we need to do in this case, because JSON response expects a dictionary or an object itself. So what we would need to do if we are not passing an object, we are passing something like a list or a different sequence or something like that, we need to set this option that says save equals false. So if I do this, I will get an error. That's to allow non-dict objects to be shared. I said the save parameter to false. So we have to do that. Now we should be able to see all our fireflies here. So as you can see, we have a list of fireflies in our project. So we can return them in the API. So if I open, so there is a tool called Postman. Like all backend developers should have this tool on their computer. So Postman allows us to test APIs. So if we open Postman, I'm opening Postman now to use it to test the API. So if we open Postman, we will see that we can now test these APIs in Postman and it will actually return a given data. But while Postman is still loading, can everyone hear me just to be sure?
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So it seems everyone can hear me. So I will answer our questions when we are through this, because this is actually very important. So now we have the GET request. So I would create the given post request. So like I have previously mentioned, I still mentioned it yesterday, we have different request methods. We have the GET request, the post request, patch, delete, and so on. So the GET request is used for retrieving data. The post request is used for saving an item or giving data in the database. So because we are not saving anything, the GET request, when you send a GET request to a site or a given server, you are expecting to get either a response back or a page that just returns a given item or a given web page. That is why most times when you run your Django server, you most likely see a get request. If you don't have any error, you most likely will just see a get request. Let's go. If I show you now, if I go to the home page and I come to my terminal, you should see a get request with 200 status message. So it means that we are not actually trying to save any data in the database. We are just trying to retrieve a given data, which could be a web page or a response or whatever it is we want. So now we'll be creating a post request that allows us save data to the server. So just take this print statement out. Okay, I think my postman has loaded. So I will just move the postman to the screen. So if we go to /fireflies/ I think this is the route. So it is a get request. And we hit send. We should see the list of our data here. Then we should see status 200. Okay. So I'll continue now with the post request. Because so now, because a post request, you actually getting the request from the request body itself. We need to be able to pass a given data. We need to be able to pass a given data, and we need something we call a JSON parser. So that JSON parser is also imported from REST_framework, So you import from REST_framework dot parsers import JSON parser. But take note, this is what you would need if you are only using a JSON response to return your API. You will not normal response from the REST framework on the class base. You would not need it, but because I am just returning a JSON response needed. So I would do. Everyone hear me? Since my network is shaking a bit.
You might want to repeat the last two sentences about JSON response, JSON parser, JSON response. It was the network was kind of messed up at that time we were talking. So
okay. So I said JSON parser. We would need to use JSON parser in order for us to get the data, to pass the data we are getting, because unlike the get request, a post request is something like this. A post request, we would be going into the body and creating a simple Firefly. So we will need to send it to the request. We are going to be sending data through the request body. So we will need to pass the data when it comes to Django. So we will need JSON parser. Now, JSON parser would only be useful if you are using JSON response to return your data. If you are using the normal response from REST framework, which we would use now, you will not need JSON parser. I just want to show you this example of how to do that. So I will do data equals JSON parser dot pass request. So I believe I have imported JSON parser. Okay, so this works. Then I need to pass my fireflies and the data into the serializer. So what I would do is I would I will do this data equals data. Then if serializer dot is underscore valid, serializer dot save, then return JSON response so now remember I said that if you are not passing in a sequence, you can, or you're just passing in a single object, you don't need that save equals for, and that is what we'll be taking that out. And now we just set the status, which is the message status of the request. So 201 means created. So we would see the list of HTTP response status soon when I import it, but 201 means created. So remember when we got the list, when we used the get method, we saw 200, which is okay. So 201 means created. Now we have these responses. 200 means successful. I think 300 is redirection, 400 or 4xx, because we have 400, 401, and the rest. So anytime you get a 4 something error, it means you have the issue is coming from you, the user. 500 means it's a server-side issue. Any error starting with 500. 200 message means that it is successful. What you're trying to do is successful. 300 or 3, whatever, any message starting from 3 means redirection and so on. So you can check that. I think I would show you a list of those error message, all those message responses, their status code. So I think everything should work the way we want it to. So I will come over to Postman to test. So we'll change this into a post request. Now take notes, we have ID, shadow, and black. So I would create one called icecracker. But let's give it an ID of like 9. Let's see if it works. So I hit send. Sending request. Do not send request. Okay, because there's an error here, or rather our terminal has froze. Okay, so let's resend the request. So apparently we have an error. Okay, now, good. So if you also remember yesterday when I was working with forms, I said that there is a CSRF token you have to add with every form. So same thing with Django. When building our APIs, we need to add a CSRF exempt for security reasons. because Django does not want us for anybody to be able to send any requests from any sites. You need to be secured. Your site needs to be secured. So we will be importing that from Django itself. So from Django.view. So anytime you are sending a post request, a put request, or a delete request, you will need to add a CSRF exempt. So the decorators dot CSRF imports CSRF exempt. Just know that you will not be using this if you are using the standard API review from Django. We are only having to do this because we are using JSON response to return our APIs. So I will come to this view here, and I will do at CSRF exam. So it's a decorator. So that's finished reloading, and now let us try sending this request. So as you can see, it's created the data for us. But if you notice, I gave it an ID of 9 and it gave us an ID of 10. Now that is because Django, as I've said, it auto increments our ID. I have already created some data previously before the class to test the API, and also just work with some data prior to the class. So I had about 4-5 data additionally. So I deleted them. But because it is Django, once you delete, once you've created a data or an object, the ID still remains. So Django will not assign the ID to another object. It will auto increment the ID for you. So if we go back to this list here and we reload this page, we should get 6 fireflies now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means everything is working the way we want it to. So now I want to be able to get a single firefly. Define firefly underscore detail API. So I'll be writing this from scratch. So try. Okay, let's leave the try for now. And I will show you why I am leaving it for now. So I want to get a single, because I want to retrieve a single item from the database, and I want to return it to the API. So what I would do is, my view would obviously be expecting an argument, which is the ID of the item we want to return from our database. So ID firefly equals firefly.objects.get. So what happens when someone actually uses an ID that does not exist? What will be returned from our, so let's say now I want to return ID of 20 slash. What happened? So we want our code to actually be able to catch that error that would result from doing that, because obviously the item will not exist in the database. So we use what we call a try except block. So the try except block is a block in Python that allows us to catch errors so that our application does not stop running anytime we encounter an error. Because if you notice, anytime we get an error in Django here, our server just stops. So we don't want that, or our application just stops. So we want to be able to catch some errors that comes into our application, into our project. So we'll be using a try except block. So we are saying, please try this. So this is Python, not Django itself. So this is Python. So we are saying, okay, please try this. Now, in the case where there is an error, so this is the except block here. This except block here assumes there is an error in this block of code you are trying to do. So the error would be that the item does not exist. So let's say except Firefly does not exist. I think I have to disable this my auto correctly. So return a JSON response that says Firefly not found. But instead of this, we are going to be returning an object. So message.
Please, I have a question.
Please, can you type the question if you have a question,
Okay.
please? So
It's about it does not exist. So
okay, let's carry on.
okay, so the does not exist. Is it a pre-configured function or it's
Okay, it
I don't
is.
know, is it inbuilt?
Yeah, it is inbuilt. It is an error handling mechanism by Python itself. So
Okay.
or Django rather. So it allows us to specify if an item does not exist in the database. Because
Okay, did you import
it is
it?
no, you do not import it, you just specify it.
Okay, thanks.
So for so we'll be returning a for error that says we all know what the for error is, not found, the not found error. So item not found or data not found. So we'll just be doing this. And now we want to retrieve a single item. So I will just come here and copy this. Then request the method, because since we are returning a single item, it is a get request. But instead of having this, because we already have our Firefly here, so what happens is it's a simple function. So this would run, it would run line by line. So if this actually works, then it will come to line 31 to run. This will not run if this is right, if this is correct. It's only when we are getting an error from this space that this block would run. So from here, it jumps to line 31 here. So we already have Firefly here. So we don't need to, so we just specify Firefly. So like I said, we don't need to specify the many equals true, because now this is just a single object or single data. So serializer.data, because it's a single data, we don't need safe equals false, or rather we'll be using status that says 200. Okay. So this should work. Let's reload. Okay, it's working. So let's go to /10/ Oh, okay. So I forgot to add it in the URL routes here. So we have to import our Firefly detail API, then parts fire /int ID. Now you can see why I needed to talk about views prior to us talking about the API, because we would need that knowledge here. So I think this is it. This works. So let's reload. This should work. Okay, it's not working because I forgot to add this trailing slash. So we add the trailing slash, and it should work. So we have a data with ID 10. So we are fetching a single data from the database now. So this is our API. Okay, so if we do the same thing here, we come here and we use a get request to get an item, this, and we send it. We would get data and status 200. So I want to be able to update this guy and also be able to delete it. So what I would do is I would come to my views.py, which is here, and then I would, if request.method equals puts, then I would copy out this data.json parser dot blah blah. I'll copy because it's still the same thing. We are sending a request, but we want to update this data, so we'll be passing the data through a request body. So we need to pass the data. So data. Now the serializer. Now we'll be doing something different here. Serializer. So normally we used to include either just the objects or the data that we are creating. But because we are trying to update the data, we need a single data to update, which is what we are retrieving here, the Firefly. So we need to add the Firefly and passing the data we want to update it with. So we are passing the data we want to update it. So if you print out data, we would see get the error because I'm not returning any response, but we would see. So if I change this to a put request, and let's say I change this to brown, then I hit send. We are getting an error now terminal, but it's okay. We are getting this CSR error because we are trying to change the data. So let's rerun this. But if you notice my terminal, I am actually getting a data called ice cracker with the color brown. So I'm going to passing this into my serializer like I did. And now, here, I would do this. So same process with the post request here. I would have this serializer equals file serializer. Visualizer is valid, then serializer does save, return a JSON response, serializer the data, blah blah. Now it works, everything would work. So I would change this to blue, and then I will hit send. So we are getting ice cracker ID 10, then color blue. So if we come here and we reload this get page, it will change to blue. That means we are actually updating the data now. If we come to our terminal, you would see the put requests, so on, which means created. So the last one is the delete request. This request is somewhat easier than the rest of them. So the delete request, what we just need to do is we need to the delete, then we'll just get our firefly dot delete, then return a response. We are done. But now the response should be a 204 response, because the 204 response means no content. That means you have successfully deleted an item, so you do not have any content again, you don't have any data left, data you're trying to retrieve. Now, the reason why we have the update and delete request alongside the get request, if you have not guessed already, is because in order for you to delete an item, I cannot delete an item without actually retrieving that item from the database. So imagine I am trying to delete an item from this list of data. How am I going to do it? I need to be able to get at least one item, because you can't delete multiple items at the same time. You have to delete one. So you have to be able to retrieve the item first before you delete them. That's why they are all in the same route there. So the delete, get, and the updates or put requests are all in one route. So I come here. So I can get this now. Let's try to delete this. So okay, we are getting an internal server error. Why? Serializer referenced before. Oh, okay, no, we don't need. Am I having a serializer? We don't need that there. We need a message here. So let's copy out this message. But the item has been deleted already, sadly. It has been deleted already. So if I come here, Firefly not found, because it has been deleted already. We had that error on line 44, which is supposed to return the response to us. So we already deleted the Firefly here on line 43. So we can do same with, let's create one and let's create the. So I'll give it an ID of 11, then a post request, then send, then come here, it needs 11. So Firefly deleted. So that is just the basic idea of using an API, building an API with Django. But this is actually a very simple API. If you have probably watched videos on YouTube, or probably the videos we have on. Okay, so yes, we have some questions there. Also updating, do we need to disable the other fields such as likes field? I don't think you have to disable. You are not disabling the field. You are not disabling the field. Talk about serialization of elements with foreign keys. Okay, that's actually a very important thing. Although I would have loved to keep it for you to do, since this is part of your task, or probably just go through the serializer, because we have about 3 more minutes to go. I have about 3 more minutes for this class. Let me see, there is another class that's coming up soon. So there, okay, Femi is holding a Django class by 7. So most likely I'll ask him if he can talk about serialization with foreign keys. Okay, so let me look at the charts here. how does Django forms work with serializer? There are two different things. They don't work together. Django form is for you to work with forms in your templates. Serializer is for you to return serialized data to your APIs. There are two different things. They don't even, if you notice, I don't have any forms on PY in my API. I don't even have the models here. I am using the models from Fireflies. Okay, so I believe there are no other questions. I want to see if I can quickly use the Django API view. So using the Django API view is a bit, it gives us this nice view from Django, this nice API view from Django. So we can import it. Like I said, I'll be using function-based for now because I have not talked about class-based views at all. So I would like to talk about class-based views before we can actually use class-based views to build our APIs. So from REST underscore framework dot decorators import API view. So here, instead of having CSR represents, we would have as API view. So we have a get and post request here. So we'll specify the two requests we have in our function, in our view here. So get posts, come here, and I do same thing here, but instead of post, puts and delete. So there are some things I want to change. But like I said, you only use JSON parser when you are returning a JSON response. So we will not be using this JSON response. We'll be using response from the REST framework. So I have to import that. So from REST underscore framework, from REST underscore framework dot response import response. So instead of having JSON response, okay, there's something else I want to import from REST framework dot status import HTTP. So like I said, we have so many different HTTP and you can see them and their meaning. So we have 200, okay, 201 created, bad requests, 404, we even have 500 and the rest. So for now, I think this is okay. So here I will do, instead of having this, I would have response, and I'll take this out because that is only useful with the JSON response method there. So this sets the status to be 200, okay. So here, like I said, we don't need the JSON parser. So we take this, then we use request.data. We use request.data here. So we are passing it directly into our serializer. We are passing the request.data from the request object here. So this is not a Django request object, right? It's the REST framework request. So we are passing it into the data. Well, so everywhere we see a JSON response. Anyway, I say JSON response, I want to convert it to response. So serializer the data here is okay. So I think everything should work, but we have to change all this to their appropriate. Okay, so let's just see the get and push request for now. So if I come here, we should see a different interface entirely. Exactly. And this is what you probably are used to, this view. So this is what Django offers us with or the REST framework offers us with its API view. It allows us to look at a very beautiful view, and then we can actually add the contents here to create the data. So if I come here and I do this, so I don't know. I can't remember the last ID, so let's just give it 10. Django will help us implement. Let's have nice cracker too. And I click on posts, it works. But if you notice, if I try to okay, I don't think we have finished with. But if you notice, we have this HTTP201 created message. So that is because we are setting the HTTP status of the request itself. So is there any other thing I would like to talk about? And let me just finish this so everything is done. So get puts. Yeah. For this is 201. And this is 2. I don't think we are importing so far yet. So everything should work the way we want it to now. So if I reload and I go to /10. Okay, what's the idea of that one? It's 11. So okay, yeah, so if we go to /12. Now can you see that we do not have an error? So if I try to do /P94, you see Firefly is not found. And that is because we are returning this. We are returning this Firefly not found. So if I take this out, let's assume I take this out and I take this out. Let's see what happens when I do that. So if I reload my server, yeah. So if I reload, I am getting a Django error, which you really don't want to be getting errors like this. So it's easier to just catch the error. And as opposed to, or in answer to that your question, you can see that we have it does not. So the error, the name of the error is does not exist, and that is why we can specify that error message here. So this works the way we want it to. So if I do /12, then I can delete puts. So if I try updating it, we should be able to update it. You cannot access body after reading from request data string. Yeah. We forgot to change this to request the data. Is there any other thing? Yeah. So we forgot to change it to request the data. So if I try to reload, I should see yellow now. Black. Black. So I think we can also delete without having any issue. Firefly deleted. So this is like the basics of building a simple API using Django REST framework. I believe everyone now has an idea of how to build a simple REST framework, and this should be enough to be able to do the task. So is there any question? This class is a bit small. So is there anyone that would love to ask a question? We have way past our time. So there is another Django class by 7. So if you have any question, you can still reach out to Femi and he would answer it. So thank you all for joining. I hope today's class has been a refresher for those who know this, and also for those who do not know, I hope it has been like a new knowledge learned. So thank you all for joining and have a wonderful evening. So yes, if you use the class-based view, you are safe. The only reason I didn't use the class-based view, is because I have not talked about the class-based view. So for those who don't have an idea of class-based views, it might be difficult for them to understand. So next week, I do not think there is a task for next week. If there is going to be one, you will be communicated through with your LMS. But our class still remains. We'll be talking about the things we feel to talk about, like class-based views with normal Django, then with Django REST framework, with then forms, and so many other things. So yeah, thank you all for joining, and I hope to see everyone on Tuesday next week. So no, there will not be any extension of the last task. Like I said, if there's going to be an extension, I will let everyone know. Okay, so bye.